I have two children, 29 years old and 16 years old. I have a brand new driver out on the street, so that's enough reason to run right there, because I have a 16-year-old that's ruling the road. But more seriously, I had to resign from my position. I was formerly the president and CEO of the West San Antonio Chamber of Commerce. Prior to that, I've worked in construction for many years, and I was also, back in my younger days, as you are in your 20s, I was a paramedic and enjoyed my time. So at the end of the day, always serving the people. I just recently came off the Via Metropolitan Transit Board with a successful campaign. I also serve on Mission Heritage Partners, which is a fundraising group that serves the missions and helps with the UNESCO project here in San Antonio. And then I'm also an honorary commander with the 502nd Air Force Wing. So I work with the military on a regular basis. Truly, I moved here in 2010, immediately went into service working with small businesses, and then transitioned into a small construction company to work as a project manager, to actually run projects here locally and help serve the employees, those laborers, the skilled labor group, and help them move forward, because many of them are those that don't make very much money. Some are below the poverty level, and I wanted to do more for them in addition to building something. Second to that, I got involved with the military because I have family members who are also in the military. The biggest thing at the end of the day, and you'll never meet, I don't think, another group.
I'm sorry, that's going to be time.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so I believe that we're only allowed to have the number of people in the boxes for spotlighting. And since this is about District 2, I'm going to remove myself from the spotlight so that Mr. Booker can be spotlighted, so you all will know who Mr. Booker is. All right, so Mr. Booker, you're up.
My name is Carl Booker. I am the owner of Avista Products, producer of Black Video News and the Black Book. I've been working in this community for over 27 years. We are a provider of services, creative services. We also are champions of small businesses throughout San Antonio, but my commitment to District 2 has been over 27 years. One of the reasons why I wanted to run for office was the pandemic and some of the issues that we faced. You know, I was looking around not only for my business, but others to find out how we could be of more service and help. Leadership just wasn't there. And I'm not a fan of complaining. I'm a fan of doing something about it. So instead of looking around for others to do it, I decided to step up. In addition to that, I have two grown daughters, and you know, just looking at their lifestyle and what they're experiencing, you know, they're kind of lacking leadership in their community. Jalen is around their age, so you know, there's definitely a future leader in that. But you know, how do you find more people? How do you even address a pathway to success? You talk to someone that's been successful, and that's typically how you're going to do it. But one of the things that is important to me is to first listen to the community. I have a lot of plans for the community, and you can go to vote Carl Booker for d2.com to find out more information. But that comes second, only to what we find out is going on with the community. A lot of times we don't know what we don't know. I can go in there with a lot of plans, and the community doesn't want to have nothing to do with it. So we want to address the needs first. So one of the biggest things that I am familiar with, and Farrell's a big champion as well, for police accountability. I want to say that's one of the top priorities.
All right, time. Okay. All right, so we've heard from all of the parties with their thoughts and their platforms. Now we're going to take questions. Each candidate will be given a minute to answer a question. To all the people on, if you could put your question in the chat box, that would make it much easier for us to get through it. And so Judge Rangel is going to take over for this first question. And it's from Katana, and she says, in District 2, 25% of the population is below poverty. How will you lower that number once in office? And I'll turn it over to Judge Rangel. And Judge, I'll keep time if you want me to.
Okay. All right. And so I'll just kind of go in order here. That's an excellent question. Mr. Clark, we'll let you answer that first.
I would work with local businesses and try to provide incentives, whether they be tax-based or otherwise, for companies that are willing to pay their workers above $15 an hour, so that our people could start to see living wages that can actually handle households. We know that a lot of our families are struggling due to the fact that they're making below the poverty wage, and even with two incomes at that level, it's hard to maintain a household. So we would work with local businesses in the district to try to make sure that they're meeting that minimum wage of $15 an hour. And we'd also like to work with bringing in other businesses and incentivizing them to offer jobs strictly and directly in District 2, so that when we have these companies that are coming into our district, it's our residents that are benefiting from them versus the employment coming from outside of the district, where our own residents are not benefiting from the factories that are right here in our district.
All right. So again, each of you have 1 minute to answer. Thank you, Mr. Clark, for falling within that time frame. Ms. Brown?
In working on that, some people know what we call about generational curses. There's generational ignorance. There's a lot of people who just don't know. I have this thing about babies making babies. Can't teach babies anything because they are already a baby. They don't know. We have to come to a way where we can have maybe like a mentorship program where we can tell people that it's okay to learn. It's okay to think outside the box. Don't think of yourself being nerdy or, for Black people that you're doing something white. You're trying to do something to inform yourself, educate yourself so that you can bring yourself up. We have a lot of programs that are out there, even with Workforce Solutions, that people don't take advantage of. So we have to bring some type of way to bring it to them, show them the benefit of it, because some of these people don't have cars. You can't expect them to go to the resource. We have to bring the resource to them and show them the benefits. We may have to start in the high schools.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Ms. Cleaver.
Okay, there I go. Education opportunity. Education is the key factor. Of course, we have trade school programs. St. Philip's has a robust trade school program. We have other trade school opportunities, but we also want to make sure that people are aware of them. GED programs, adult literacy programs, and of course, tackling our youth as they get out of high school. We have an Alamo Promise program that gives free schooling, free higher learning and college and junior college education for absolutely free, and it's available for the next 3 years. So we have to make sure we have 100% people signed up for that program. We increase adult literacy programs, the GED situation, and give more opportunities. Crime and this situation as well. Poverty also often happens when people don't have an opportunity or they don't see other opportunities available. So we do have to bring those things to them, educate folks on all the different ways they can be excited about it, and be proactive about involving folks into higher education.
Thank you for that answer, Ms. Cleaver. Mr. McGee Rodriguez. McKee, sorry.
For sure. So what it comes down to, poverty really comes down to the opportunity gap that exists in communities like ours. We need opportunities, and I would advocate, one, for a livable wage beyond $15 an hour. There's no reason people should need to work multiple minimum wage jobs, and our city is very fearful of challenging preemption. We have amazing businesses and entrepreneurs and creatives who need opportunities, and I would facilitate the procurement of city contracts for minority-owned small businesses in D2. I would also work to incentivize the development of recreational activities in San Antonio, because we deserve movie theaters, shopping centers, bowling alleys, but we don't have that, and that would create countless jobs and opportunities for work. In addition, we do need to increase access to pre-K4SA and invest in our school programs and trade programs so that we can prepare our children for the future starting now. We have so much to do, but these are a few of the things that we can do.
Thank you, Mr. McKee Rodriguez. And Mr. Darden.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Judge. So I'm not going to be an echo chamber and repeat everything that everyone has said, because what they're saying is spot on. Education, information, opportunity, training, all those things are the correct responses. What I would add to that is constituent services. So at the end of the day, if the people aren't connected to all those opportunities, guess what? It's all for nothing. And that traditionally and historically has been what's going on. Jalen mentioned pre-K for SA. The pre-K for SA site is on more of the northeast side, which means that the higher need on the east side is not being met. So at some point, we have to connect people to those resources. We have ETSI, we have the workforce development, as Dory said, but we got to connect people to those things. So constituent services is the #1 thing to add to what everyone else has said. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Darden. You guys are really making me miss being on the campaign trail. I'll tell you what. Mr. Dawkins, you're up.
Yes, sir. And again, I echo all of those things, but the only other thing that I would say is I would say that we want to make everybody in District 2 an investor and invest in themselves. We start there because there's some people who want it, there's some people who don't. We find out those who want it. We help those with the programs that were talked by each and every other candidate that preceded me. And we find out what they want. But I want to find out those who really want it. Those who want it, we can help them get it.
Thank you, Mr. Dawkins, for your answer. Ms. Villanueva.
Thank you, sir. Well, all the candidates, as other people have said, are spot on. We need to bridge the gap for all people of all ages across the district and throughout the city. The interesting thing is we have a number of great resources within our district and within our city, but some of our previous elected leaders have put up barriers. So our neighbors cannot get access. So as an example, you might go to Workforce Solutions and you're gonna go to the one in our district, but then you have to figure out how to get transportation to get the rest of the services outside at another office in another place, and that just doesn't work. We should have what we need within our district. The second thing is building up those small businesses again. They are the most flexible. Small and medium-sized businesses have the most flexibility for our neighbors to be able to hire them, train them. There are grants, there's money available for them, and we need to do this.
Your time has expired.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Villanueva. And finally, Mr. Booker.
I want to say in reference to that, there is no one blanket approach. I believe every person has its unique challenges. Like a lot of things in life, you often have leadership, whether that's a family member or someone in your household that you can look to for mentorship. So as an example, if someone is in need of housing, mental health, they need to know what those channels are. So what works for me doesn't necessarily work for the next person. Whether they have the education or not, the knowledge gap is the most important thing, because we can assume a plumber and a CPA might have a different mental capacity, but it starts at home. They're going to need a place to stay. They're going to need a place to eat. All those things are important to get them out of poverty. Once we can tackle that, then I think there will be an asset to not only to themselves, but to the community as well.
Thank you, Mr. Booker.
All right, and for our next question, we're going to start reverse, and it's going to start with Mr. Booker. And it has to do with current situation. And let me find the question. It's, what would you do to solve the problem with the grid? And I think we all know what we mean when we say the grid, as evidenced by some of us being without power or water. So Judge Rangel, if you could do it in reverse order, please, starting with Mr. Booker.